Olivia is constantly trying to keep me out of danger and keep me alive through a series of texts throughout our entire relationship. Here was a text she sent me when I was going to the Tom Ford store in Chicago. Baby, be so careful today. You can get monkeypox trying on clothes at a store and or not washing your new clothes. March of 2023, 7 a.m., she texted me in People magazine article, Florida man dies of brain-eating amoeba after rinsing sinuses with tap water. And she texted underneath it, John, we are never moving to Tampa. Now, we had never discussed...
Men don't want a wife, they want a mother. And on top of that, they don't want a partner, they want a hostage. I feel like John Mulaney exemplifies this really, really, really well, unfortunately, as somebody who used to really enjoy his comedy. But for those of you that don't know, John's always been a wife guy, and he's been married before. And there's a pretty high likelihood that he exited out of that marriage by cheating on his ex-wife with Olivia Munn. But he's always been a wife guy. He's always brought up his wife in his comedy routines, and that hasn't changed. But whenever he used to bring up his ex-wife, he always had like some really strong words for her, right? She was the strong, independent, Jewish bitch. That's how I remember him referring to her. I hate for a man to describe me as a bitch when what he really means is strong, confident, independent, not take any shit. I hate that instead of saying that straight up, he would instead call her like a very common and tired insult that's used against women like that in order to bring them down. That never really sat right with me. But again, because the bar is in hell, it's like, well, at least he talks about her. At least he seems to respect and admire that. A lot of men, John included, have a very, very strong validation problem. Like their entire self-esteem, their entire life, their entire like mental well-being rests on validation. And rests on this idea that they are inextricable and needed. They don't want to be wanted in a relationship. They want to be needed. And so I genuinely think that because John and his ex-wife, like they were very clear, very vocal about not wanting children, she's actually an accomplished and successful artist. I think while men may enjoy that for a little while, they may enjoy sort of like capturing a woman like that, they eventually start to get bored and insecure with the lack of constant validation that independent, successful, and self-made women don't have the kind of time for. We don't have time to baby our husbands too, right? That's specifically why we chose not to have kids, right? Because I don't want to baby anybody. I don't baby myself. I'm not going to baby a grown adult man. And I don't want to have a baby because I don't want to baby anything. I'm not nurturing like that. And again, while at first men may get some validation just from simply, convincing a woman like that to be in a relationship with them, eventually that sort of comes to be not enough. Like it's not as satisfying as they initially hoped it would be. That's when they start talking about, oh, maybe I changed my mind about kids, like et cetera, et cetera. They start having like a midlife crisis. In John's case, he fell back off the wagon. But I think what John wanted and what a lot of men really, really want is somebody who would care about them more than they care about themselves. And that's where a successful, independent woman who knows her worth is going to fail every single time. Because you don't get to be that way by caring about a man like he's your child. Independent women don't want to do that. They want to have a partner, not a child. So then what men do is they'll find a woman and trap her with a child. That way the woman is invested now also in his well-being. And it really matters to her, right? Like Olivia says in those text messages that she's sending him, like, you have a family to think about now. You've had a family all along. When you sign a marriage certificate, that's you saying, at least to the state, that this person is like my family now. We share everything and we get to make decisions on how we live and die for each other. That's family, right? That's a pretty big commitment. But a lot of people don't consider anything but a man, a woman, and 3 children family. And a lot of men find that there isn't enough validation for them in just being a good partner to one woman, especially when that woman is not like pumping out kids and like staying at home and being taken care of and provided for. That's how men like to be thought of. No matter how progressive and feminist and everything they may want to seem, the way that they think is very different. And I just want to add too that men don't necessarily know that this is going to happen. They don't necessarily see this coming. A lot of men think that they can handle existing next to a strong, independent woman that does not depend or rely on or is not chained or tied to them in any way. And for the majority of men, it turns out that they cannot hang with that. They really do want and need someone to revolve around them in order to make them feel even a little bit validated. And when these men realize that a strong, independent woman is not going to make it a point to provide constant validation, and that she may even, in fact, outpace and outperform them and just, exist on a whole nother level than them altogether, that's when they want to humiliate and humble her. And I believe that's what John did to his ex-wife. The whole rehab stint with the whole Olivia Munn thing, coming out of rehab, I think he was just mad that his first wife was a big girl and he was not a big boy. And now he gets to be married to someone whose world really does revolve around him because, again, he's the father of her children. She's chained to him in a way that makes his well-being and happiness and validation like literally her job. And that's what a lot of men want. They just don't realize it. Really only tend to realize it when they are left to their own devices and they're left alone with a bad bitch. While it may have been surprising to a lot of people that John Mulaney like up and left his child freestyle, a lot of people were insinuating that Olivia Munn like baby trapped him and I firmly believe that he did all of this knowingly. I think this is all the product of like a midlife crisis where at the end of the day it's really all about validation, and for a lot of men having kids is very much validation. They're worth something. For a lot of men, having a woman that depends on them, right, has had kids with them, has committed her life to them, has put her reputation on the line for him, etc., etc., that's where a lot of men like to have you as a woman. That's right where they want you. Because now, again, like I said, she's invested. She's invested in sending him those texts every day and making sure he doesn't die and stays alive and all that. And he probably eats that up. He probably loves the attention, even though he acts like, oh, yeah, my wife. Like now he's that kind of wife guy. He switched over to like boomer humor. Right? She's the old ball and chain now. She's too concerned. She's too worried. Every little thing, like she babies him. And he likes that because it communicates to other men that he is valuable. She wants him to make it back home in one piece. Also communicates to other men that he doesn't really have to think for himself. That he's got this woman out here doing all of his bidding, and on top of that, making sure that he doesn't accidentally sit on his own ball sack when he's getting into a car or something. Like she's like texting him like, hey babe, make sure you tuck your ball. Like, stop. Stop. That's so embarrassing. If you're ever doing that for a man, please stop. This is an adult, grown human being. He does not need these like little reminders. He does not need to know what all is going on out there. Because the other thing, chances are, if you are like this, if you are obsessive about these things, again, very specifically, it's this kind of man that will take it as a personal challenge. Personal challenge. He's gonna be like, oh no, it's fine, watch, it's gonna be okay. And when they prove themselves wrong and prove you right, they're gonna be like, well, yeah, this is why I'm just a dummy, I shouldn't be allowed outside. Or they'll get mad and resentful of you, because what you said would happen, happened. All of which is childlike behavior, all of which lets you know that he didn't want you as a partner. Ever. He wanted you as a mommy. Because as a woman, you represent a lot more to men than you realize. You represent their identity. You represent their status. You represent what they're being validated by. And a man who's insecure and a man who's really at his core all about validation, he's going to keep trading women in one for another until either he's found a woman who waits on him hand and foot, no matter how independent, self-sufficient, and accomplished she is otherwise, right? Like an Olivia Munn, who, well, now she's John Mulaney's wife. Now she's the mother of his children. And he gets to stand up there and tell everybody how obsessed she is with him. And how she texts him every single day about all of these little things. You know what? I'm not going to comment on his looks, but I am going to comment that the vibe is off. The vibe is off. She's been getting a lot of attention recently with her cancer diagnosis, with her surgery, with the surrogate child that they had, with her Skims campaign. All of a sudden, things are picking up for her because she's, living authentically. She's speaking her truth. And I think this man is back on the sauce again. I really do. And I think that's just what he does every time a woman gets a little bit bigger than him, gets out a little bit ahead of him. When things in his life are not going how he wants them to be going, he reverts back to helpless baby infant mode in order to force the people around him to lock in and focus on him and make him the center of attention. And if and when they don't do that, he will just up and leave and find a place where he's welcome to act like that, where he's going to be coddled, given attention, and taken care of like he's a little baby. I think that's why people were so surprised, like, oh, I thought he didn't want kids, Yeah, he realized that a woman is not going to be a mommy to a man unless you make her a mommy to a kid first. So he went and found a woman that let him make her a mommy. And now he's much more comfortable in his role. Now, because he's also the father of her children, he can have her revert back to that mommy role anytime. Because she needs him to stay alive and well, because he's the father of her children. He upped his status and he upped the stakes for the woman that he's in a relationship with, because the old way was not working for him. Stay safe out there, ladies. Never build a man up. I love you so much. Godspeed.